SwissBorg is now the official partner of my channel, so you can buy, earn, stake, sell, all in one secure mobile platform. Download using the link in the description. Deposit €50 or more and you'll receive up to €100 worth of their native token CHSB. SwissBorg! Hello everybody, welcome back. So we're gonna put the case then this morning that the absolute low could be in for Bitcoin, and then obviously that may transpire over to altcoins for the just through association. But we're just going to talk about Bitcoin, which is a major indicator for the market and what the market wants to do. Looking at Bitcoin dominance at the moment, it would suggest that if there were to be a bottom form on anything, I suppose Bitcoin would be the one. Next week, or the week that we're about to enter anyway, there's two main things really. There's the CPI data, which I don't think is too much of a big deal, and then there's the Ethereum merge, which is a bit of a I don't know. I'm highly skeptical, but if we were to just put those things aside, which we can't really, but if we were to, there is signals and signs and setups that actually Bitcoin may have actually found its low, but I'd still rather wait for this whole Ethereum thing just in case, because obviously I would class that as one of those events which is like playing Russian roulette, but with half the gun barrel loaded. So odds are basically 50-50. I really don't know which way it's going to go. I would expect it to go down though, even if it is a good thing for Ethereum long term, as it's been a buy the rumour since Ethereum was floating around about $400. That's when you start to hear all about this ETH 2.0. And since then, that has been the thing that's kept Ethereum up. Prior to that, I mean, we'll just get the chart up very, very briefly. Prior to that, the Ethereum was such a bit of a drag, really. I bought Ethereum at the beginning of the last bull market, and it was just such a boring drag. I bought it just around these levels here, bought here, and look at the state of this chart. Ethereum 2.0, way, buy the rumour. And is it time to sell the news? I don't know. But I'll assume that the rumour will be sold. And if it were to be sold, then I wouldn't be particularly massively bearish on it. You would normally think of that as an opportunity. And that as well, given what I'm about to present for Bitcoin anyway, and the crypto market, could be a time to think about just buying those lows for a long-term investment, which is the way that I've been trying to put forward on this channel, that some decent money will be made if you've got the patience to buy and hold from a particular low. We've been marking areas off on Bitcoin which have been significantly low, but if we just forget about the super bearish outlooks of between anywhere from 16,000 down to 12,000, which is still a possibility, and that would all take place in the form of traditional markets continuing to go down. But I'm going to make a case for that in a moment that won't happen. Let's just focus on Bitcoin. So this is Bitcoin on its monthly time frames spanning back to 2012, or so 10-year history, and we got one bull market, two bull market, three bull market, and bear market, obviously. So this is your peak at the last bull market. I know we've done this before. 87% from top to bottom over a space of 426 days. Fair enough. So just over a year on that one. Again, bull market to bear market end, 84, almost 85 over a 365-day period. Fair enough. So a full year. So where do we measure this one from? Should we do it from the absolute peak? And we'll do it down to this level here. So 75 days over 200. We expand that a little bit further, 300 days. All right, fair enough. What about next month, 334? Fair enough. Okay, so what we're seeing here is that the peak of the bull market to the bottom of the bear market was longer here than it was here, and potentially here. Now, there is also a case that we could argue that this is where the bull market ended over here, and if that's the case, we've already way exceeded the time frames. So this is where I get the idea, which is that the bull market will begin anywhere from this month, September, to as late as December on a cycle time-wise basis. These white lines represent the halvings that have taken place, and the next one that's going to take place in 2024. And if we see anything of any sort of significance here, it's that once the low is in, you rally into the halving. Once the low is in, you kind of rally into the halving. So once the low is in, you rally into the halving. And also, this is on a log scale, but you can see a very obvious trend line of support that has been respected each cycle, whether it's the bottom of the bottom of the bear market or the capitulation dump of the March crash. We can see that there is rhythm to that, and we're still scraping this level of support here. So that makes the case that, I suppose, for an investment purpose, or just an attempt at averaging into something like Bitcoin, that this is a reasonable area, even though that the low could honestly drop down to about 12,000, which we're talking another 40-50% drop from where we are at today. But then you've got to put it into context. What's 50% down compared to a potential, I don't know, 400% up? So we're talking over $100,000 over the space of the next 4 years or so. I know that for most people sounds crap. I don't want 400% returns. 400%, I spit on 400%. Think about what you're saying there. Think about what you're saying. You're not happy with doubling your money every year. Come on now. Come on, let's stand back and think about that statement. That's still a reasonable stab in the dark for a decent investment, even if you do have to go down 50% in the short term before you pull yourself up. I know it's not buying the bottom, but you don't. As an investment purpose, that's actually pretty good. Come on, let's face it. But I appreciate people aren't in crypto for 400%. They're in it for billions and trillions of percents, which is why they often end up with zeros of percents. Right. Let's have a look at something else. So, when we talk about the stock market, we all know the CPI is coming out next month. It's all about the inflation data. So I'm going to show you something. This isn't real data. This is something called Trueflation. It's actually on the Chainlink Oracle, actually. So, blockchain powered, baby. So this shows the US inflation that has been number crunched by outside sources. It seems relatively reasonable. The inflation rate is higher here than the official reports, but it gives you a day-to-day updated process here. And we can see that, that it kind of does represent the reality of at least the trend, which is currently down. And we can still see that it's going down as well. So, I know that the inflation data, the official inflation data is actually higher than this, but this would suggest that the trend is continuously going down. So it might mean that the inflation for the US at least continues to go down, and we get a better CPI print yet again. So confirming that inflation is not under control, but on its way down for the US. Brace yourself, people in my neck of the woods. Oh God, not quite the case in the UK. Jesus Christos. So that's pretty bad. But we don't care about the UK unless, of course, you live there like me. You don't particularly care about what's going on. It doesn't really affect the main markets. We really just want to see what's going on with US, and it currently suggests that the US is going down. Now, if you think about what goes into these, obviously we see all the housing, transport, utilities, health, blah 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 blah, the whole lot, all of it. But if we also think about how we try to predict it ourselves, which is mostly with the price of oil and commodities. Now, oil and commodities are moving up a little bit at the moment, and I do favour them going up throughout the rest of the year, especially oil anyway. We've seen a little bit of a move on oil last week, and this is one of the main things that I've been trying to play, getting this long on this one. I think it will go up over $100, but the reason this moved up, outside of the fact that it is a chart that wanted to go up, in my opinion, wanted to go up and will continue to go up, is that everything moved, didn't it? Absolutely everything moved on Friday because of our friend Old Dixie. And the Dixie sort of had a pullback on the daily and continued to go down on the daily. So everything moved up. Stocks, commodities, the energy sector, the equity sector, and obviously crypto, as we all know. So we're looking for hopefully a little bit more downside on the Dixie to help prices in general. But I won't get too bullish on this. Too bearish on this. 107, 10 exponential kind of area is most likely where it's going to get picked up on your weekly here. Right, so we've not even properly looked at the Bitcoin charts, and this is the main thing that we should be looking at because, like I say, with Bitcoin dominance, I'll just explain, Bitcoin dominance being so low, and having a little bit of a bounce. Obviously, Bitcoin is the main performer. I think that Bitcoin should be the focus, especially if Ethereum, like we say, is going into what could easily be a sell the rumor kind of event. Then it's only going to affect the Bitcoin dominance chart. And Bitcoin is the one that sets the cycle. Still very much the case, sets the cycle. We've speculated to the fact that the cycle low might even be in at this stage now. It may actually be in. So that low has been hit and we had a double bottom. So I know there was definitely a short-term double bottom. Is it the actual macro bottom? And we saw that sort of thing has been seen on Bitcoin before. We came out of this into the bull market, into this bear market. It's not even a bear market, but it was a long consolidation over here, over a 6-month period. We did find ourselves a double bottom. This is a weekly, by the way, a double bottom form over here before we start to rally into the March crash. So we can sort of forget about this. This wouldn't have been apparent on the chart if it wasn't for COVID. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that anymore on YouTube, but that was the case. If we sort of rallied up, and we probably would have continued up slowly and steadily if it wasn't for that. So marking a double bottom, that could be the same sort of vibe as we're getting over here. More bullish, in fact, because the bottom was front run. This was our absolute low, and we front run the absolute bottom over here. So it's I wouldn't say that the weekly looks good here, because we're below the 20 weekly, below all major moving averages. Obviously, you can start to get particularly bullish on this, not above the 200 simple moving average, which is what most people would focus on, your 20 weekly. I'd be more bullish above the 200 exponential moving average. I always prefer an exponential. So we're talking 25,000. So yeah, like I say, a speculative buy the dip sort of area on Bitcoin, is reasonable, I suppose. If you're thinking long term, like I say, what's a 50% drop compared to a 400% return from this entry point? That's for you to decide. That's not for me to say. That's for you to decide. But we are, like I say, surfing this trend line thus far. But like I say, the inflation data does seem reasonable, so I expect a decent CPI report next week. It's all about the Ethereum situation for me, which is something that I can't really predict. I don't think anyone can predict, but just based upon how mainnets and burns and all this sort of nonsense usually affects the crypto market. Usually you see a rally into it and then a dump afterwards. Even the halving event for Bitcoin has a similar effect, actually. When you look at the halvings that take place, usually you sort of rally into it, and then the moment that it actually takes place, we'll just take it off the log scale so we can have a little look here. Usually the moment that it actually takes place, what the frig am I doing over here? Is when you actually see a dump. So you sort of rally into it and dump after it. That's usually the case. So God, the astronomical returns on Bitcoin make it so hard to look at these sort of things outside of a log scale. So yeah, I mean this halving event probably was around here more. But so yeah, you get the point. So it's a buy the rumor, sell the news, even with Bitcoin halvings, really. So yeah, I think that is probably going to be the case, but until we see it, for what it's worth, we don't know. And if it does dump, and if Ethereum is the one that dumps, it means that the Bitcoin dominance chart rises dramatically because Ethereum holds up so much market cap of the altcoin market. So, and then through association with this chart, I would expect most altcoins to lose their sats, even if Bitcoin was to continue to go up, because this move was a rally and it left a lot of altcoins behind. If we see a dump from Ethereum and altcoins dump, then we see this chart rally as well. Now, I've said, alt seasons are usually relatively easy enough, I suppose, to mark off on this chart. We did it successfully over here. Saw some decent rallies. They're even continuing up until just recently, really. So 100%, 200%. We did plenty of percents throughout this period. Even on stuff like ICP and Chainlink and Matic was a good one. We got 100% off Matic in about a week, and it was all based upon the fact that we're going to get a rejection from here. We'll see altcoins rally, and we've seen that. But now I think we're going to see the opposite. This is, if anything, this looks like it's going to be Bitcoin season, and the next area of significance on this chart, where we can think about a rotation back into some altcoins from a Bitcoin position. The earliest for me would be about 43.8% dominance, where we've seen some rejections take place around here. If we break out from here, no big deal. I'm happy to see that, because the higher this chart goes, the more significant, the more long-lasting an alt season will be. You know, when this was happening, I said, look, we're probably going to get a rejection from here. Expect nothing more than 10 to 50%, and then it gained traction, and effectively we've been in some kind of alt season for what, 77 days. It doesn't feel like an alt season, but this is what this chart represents. It's not as good as this one. This is the one where we said this is going to be the biggest one of our lifetimes. You know, this was an enormous alt season over the space of 140 days. An enormous move from Bitcoin market cap into altcoins, and all the money was going into altcoins. We can spot these sort of things on charts. I've been doing this from the entire last cycle, making the most of the market, because let's face it, if we look at the market, generally speaking, from the bull market right up until the major alt season, which took place around here is when the major alt season took place, we were talking about a market cap of less than $1 trillion. For the most part, it was less than 500 billion. And so you had to make the most of a rotation if you really wanted to profit from Bitcoin or from the crypto market. So you had to use the Bitcoin dominance chart to try and gauge, you know, all right, let's get some Bitcoin rallies going. Okay, lovely. Okay, let's get into some altcoins, get some altcoins rallying. Okay, there's a resistance, support. Okay, let's get some, and a rinse and repeat, basically. So I always use the Bitcoin dominance chart because, you know, obviously there's more money involved in crypto now than there ever was, really. But you still want to try and make the most of what you've got. You know, it'll be difficult to watch Bitcoin rally 100% or something along those lines, which is completely possible to see a Bitcoin rally 100% this year, and altcoins just get left behind. And you're going, but I was told that the SHIT coin was going to be the future of blockchain. I heard it on Twitter from somebody with lots of followers. Well, maybe the SHIT token is going to be the best thing. But if you think about it from a trader's perspective, the SHIT coin probably won't do you a great deal of gains from this level immediately. This is going to be a Bitcoin season, at least up to here, where we get a small micro rotation, really. Anyway, so I'm going to leave it with you there, and it's just a bit of food for thought, really, about how you want to play this market, you know, long-term, short-term. But as we enter into next week with the Ethereum situation, personally, you know, if unless you're holding anyway, I wouldn't really be looking to get into altcoins at this particular point. Yeah, they can get carried with Bitcoin. Yeah, the CPI data could lift the markets, and the continuation of Dixie going down is probably going to have continuation immediately from next week. But personally, I'm still sticking with what I said. I'm going to sit the market out until at least the Ethereum thing has taken place and blown over, then reassess the situation. You know, I trade mostly with Bitcoin pairs anyway, so I've got plenty of Bitcoins on standby. This is my deal, really. So holding on to the Bitcoin that I've got is effectively a large portion of my overall balance. So I'm quite happy for a Bitcoin season to go up. I'm prepared for it to go down 50% as well, because the idea is that when the time comes, I can rotate and double that, triple that, quadruple that, or wherever, using this chart as basically my major indicator to earn more Bitcoin from simple trades, really, simple trade setups. But personally, it's the same as I've said for a few weeks now. I'm just sitting on the sidelines waiting for these situations to blow over, and just monitor how it goes. But I honestly think that there's a very strong chance of a sell the news event take place for Ethereum, and that's not going to be kind on altcoins generally. Hopefully I'm wrong and we see it all move up, because like I say, I've got altcoins too. I've got plenty of Ethereum, I've got all of that, long-term positions from way back when, so I'm happy to see them go up, but I'm prepared to see them go down. But as far as getting into new positions and positioning myself for what could be the next bull market, which takes place, anywhere from already, we could already be at the start of the next bull market, but certainly by the end of this year I'd be expecting to see a bottom form and some serious situations take place over a long period of time. So buy, hold, stake is my motto for the moment, really. Wait until this week is finished, and then we can look a little bit more realistically on these charts, because at the moment the charts, they do look encouraging. I have to say, they do look encouraging, especially when you look at Bitcoin on its trend of its log scale trend. It definitely looks encouraging. What am I doing here? And there is rhythm to it when it comes to time and projection and supports. Like I say, it definitely is something that we should not completely dismiss. But when it comes to something like this Ethereum merge, there's no chart in the world that can predict such an enormous transition that could have been effectively been bought into all the way from when Ethereum was down at $400, which was when it really started to gain traction at what this Ethereum 2.0 really means. We're still in a downtrend, obviously. Looking at this compared to Bitcoin, however, though, we are above the 20 weekly, we are above the 20, the 200 simple, the 200 exponential. We're above all of those sort of things. But let's recognise the uncertainty for what it is, and not get too clever. Once it's done and dusted, buy, hold, stake, all those things, all those exchange tokens I've been talking about, all those layer ones that we've been talking about, all those other things that we like that seem relatively obvious when it comes to buying and holding and staking. But for now, let's just enjoy the rest of this week, sitting back and watching and waiting and chilling out and expecting probably a dump that can be, we can exploit that dump. That dump could be probably the best thing that's offered to us throughout, since the last capitulation dump, where Bitcoin sort of in Celsius and 3 hours was having all those issues. This one might be the one that allows us to pick up altcoins at significant lows, and maybe some of the best buys you could get. And if we look back in 3 years from now, 3 or 4 years from now, you'll look back and go, wow, that was a great time to have bought those lows. It might have been a slow burn watching the next couple of years unfold, making those gains, but that's again what staking is all about, isn't it? Really, that's why we buy, hold, and stake. Because at least, if it's anything like my Ethereum position that I took in 2019, it's this is probably, for the most part, this is what crypto is, right? It goes up, goes down, goes a little bit further down, it goes up again, and it goes down again, then a little bit further up, and before you know it, you basically have been in the same position for a whole year and made a measly return. But you tell that to somebody now, because at the time saying you bought Ethereum, you should have bought the SHIT coin, you fool. But really, that's not how I like to play the game. I try to think about things realistically. I'm not into making the biggest ever returns of all time. It's about making returns in general, right? So yeah, Ethereum worked out in the end, but throughout this period, it was not looking like, I was thinking maybe I should have bought the SHIT coin, do you know what I mean? But I didn't. I bought some, but I was heavily into the more obvious, long-standing, hardcore, coins like Bitcoin and Ethereum. They're the ones that made more sense from a long-term perspective. This time round, like I've been saying for a while, I think this is going to be an altcoin-led market when it comes to actual gains, and Bitcoin will probably drag its feet more than more than any other bull market. And things like the top layer ones and things with real utility that are going to get implemented over these next few years in what I think we'll call it the altcoin institutional bull market. They're the ones that will be the best buy, hold, and stake, because you can stake a lot of these sort of things too. Anyway, I will come to make a list. Not that I'm suggesting you buy everything on my list, but the easiest thing to think about would be we're expecting another bull market. We're expecting exchanges to grow as new retailers flock to those exchanges. All of them, to a large extent, outside of Probit. So all exchange tokens really should be thought about as a great investment, because you're buying into the lows of platforms which are going to grow over time when more and more people get into crypto, whether they go to KuCoin, FTX, crypto.com, or even SwissBorg. Any of them are worthy of picking up, because the obvious utility is there, and we all know that crypto is getting more and more popular day by day. So hedge your bets on every exchange token of every platform within reason. Just obviously not the shittest of the shit ones, but it's a reasonable bet. And if anyone monitored the last bull market, anyway, at the very beginning of the bull market, BNB made a new all-time high in 2019. It went straight on to make a new all-time high. Bitcoin took years to make its new all-time high, as did Ethereum and every other thing else out there. So exchange tokens make sense because we know the utility, we know why they go up. It's all built into the system. So yeah, anyway, outside of that, hope you have a nice weekend, what's left of it. We'll wait for this next scenario to play out. I expect we're going to go up next week until this merge, where we probably break down. But that's not based on the charts. The charts actually look quite good. Right, I'm going to leave it with you there. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a nice day. Take it easy.